Hello, good evening and welcome to UPfront. Today, we will dedicate a chunk of our time to deal with that particular ministry that's at the forefront of the fight against galamsey. The spotlight is on the Lands and Natural Resources Ministry. But before then, we would also channel our energies into one very recurring issue now. That is the status of the GFA president after all of the dealings that started off yesterday. We do know that a team of CID investigators are currently searching the home of Mr. Nyantakyi, who is accused of using the president's name fraudulently. In a sting operation led by journalist Anas Aremia Anas, the GFA boss is caught on video using the name of the president and other senior government officials to induce potential investors to part with money. President Akufo-Addo yesterday directed the CID to open a formal probe into the matter. Mr. Nyantakyi was out of the country, but returned and today turned himself in at the police headquarters. Investigators have begun interrogating him for the 5 hours. In the last 5 hours, JoyNews is learning Mr. Nyantakyi has also been given a detailed statement to the police. His lawyers are set to press for him to be granted bail after the search on his home, which we understand was a very thorough search. We'll be going to the CID headquarters pretty soon to understand what is the latest happening there, whether Mr. Nyantakyi may at least get bail in the coming minutes after this break. You welcome to UPfront. We'll spend quality time on the Lands and Natural Resources Ministry. But now, let me go to the phone lines. My colleague, Kwesi Parker-Wilson, is on the phone line. He's at the CID headquarters currently, and we sure should be able to get the latest that's happening there. Take us to the beginning of all of this. When did Mr. Nyantakyi arrive, Parker?
Well, Raymond, Mr. Nyantakyi arrived here around 11:30 a.m. Now, we're told by the police that they picked him up from the airport and drove him straight to the headquarters. What happened was that the police already, per the directive by the president, Nana Addo Akufo-Addo, yesterday, they engaged Mr. Nyantakyi and asked him that wherever he is, he should cash up the trip and then come to Ghana to assist with investigation. So indeed, he told the police that when he arrives, he's going to submit himself to the police to assist them with investigation. So immediately he touched down, the police picked him up from there and then brought him here to assist with investigation. Now, as you said, he has given a detailed statement to the police, and again, they are in his house as we speak, because our sources tell me that they are there at the moment to gather up enough evidence and probably get a gadget or a laptop or computer to find out whether we get additional information or additional evidence to proceed with their investigation. So when they are done, they are going to return him or bring him back to the CID headquarters, where we are told that his lawyers are working to ensure that he secures bail for Mr. Nyantakyi. But I have gathered, and Raymond, let me say, I cannot independently verify that Mr. Nyantakyi might not be able to get to the bail that he wants, and the police would want him to spend the night at the BNI. So that is the information I have picked up.
We also understand that sometime in the course of the day, the police took him to his residence for the thorough search to be done, as I said, to pick up some other things. Are we learning anything from what happened at this residence and what that particular search resulted in?
So far as I speak to you, information we have received is that the search is ongoing at his residence at around East Legon. That is where he lives. That's what we've been told. So that is where they are at the moment to ensure that they gather enough evidence, because the police is saying that it's just the due process. I mean, it's part of the processes that if someone is being investigated, they go to his house to check whether they can get additional information or additional evidence to support with the investigation. So that is what they are doing. Until they are done, we expect the police to brief us on exactly what has been happening throughout the course of the day.
Support for Mr. Nyantakyi, how has it been like? Do we know known faces of the JFA who have come to throw their weight behind the man at that end?
Well, the director of JFA was there. He was with him throughout the process, and he joined them to his house, Mr. Obri, and again, lawyer Eya and Wilfred Osei were also here to solidarize with him, as well as a few officials from the GFA. Many were expecting that football fans would have thronged the CID headquarters to solidarize with the GFA boss, Kwesi Antachi, because, Raymond, you know that week gone by, Mr. Kokwahino, when he was arrested by the police, a number of supporters from the NDC were here to support him. But unfortunately, for Mr. Kwesi Antachi, he did not receive the massive support many wanted or many were expecting that they would receive. It was just a few of the GFO officials who were here today.
Has Mr. Nantachi, beyond the statement he gave the police, said anything to the lawyers that they think may help them out? And what are the lawyers telling you about their quest to make sure that he gets bail and the possibility that this may not happen?
Their quest to secure bail, I can tell you for a fact that, in fact, it's really on, and in fact, it's been heightened and it's very intensive because they want to bail their clients so that they can go home and then do other things or probably find ways and how to mount strong defense if perhaps the police should prosecute, send it back to the AG for prosecution. But what we know is that it's likely he might not get the bail that he wants. They're the sources within the police headquarters.
Defrauding by false pretense is the charge that is being purported that at any point in time he may be charged with. Do we know whether the police is going to do some form of reshuffling of this particular intent to charge, or they are going to stick with it? Do we know whether they've had any plans or change of mind in that area?
Well, I've been told that it depends with the information they gather or the evidence they get. That would influence whether or not they should change the charge. But for now, they are all going with what the president, the president complained that he's been alleged to have engaged in some corrupt practice and again using his name to defraud others. So that is what the police is investigating on. But if there should be any other reason, then we will get the official charges preferred or pressed against Mr. Kwesi Antachi after the investigation.
Are the few supporters who came to throw their weight behind the man aware that currently there seems to be some form of attempt to make sure that he is replaced as the head of the GFA immediately? Of course, there are suggestions, but there seems to have moved beyond mere talk into action in the last few hours. Are they aware? What's their reaction to it?
Well, of course. Some of them who came here thought that some individuals are trying to instigate an ask to dent the image and the reputation of Mr. Kwesi Antachi. So for them, it's not really a surprise to them. It's more like they expected it, and indeed, it has come to light. So they have remained resolute and say that, listen, they know that Mr. Kwesi Antachi would emerge victor after the investigation, after everything. He would be exonerated, and people will know that indeed all the alleged corrupt practices that they claim to have, they claim that he was engaging in, wouldn't be something substantial, or they can't even prove it. So at the end of the day, but the bottom line is that they believe that Mr. Kwesi Antachi would be exonerated. Many
thanks to you, Parker, and sure, we'll be coming back to you for more information as and when fresh ones come in. We appreciate your time this evening. So you heard my colleague Kwesi Pakwa from the CID headquarters. He's been there since morning. He saw the incoming of Mr. Nyantachi and all the things that transpired at that particular place up till now. So two current happenings that you should be interested in. First and foremost, there's a search ongoing at his residence as we speak. Secondly, there are attempts at the GFA level to try and replace the man. And of course, we understand that one of his close friends, previous, are likely to replace him anytime soon. And I'm sure we should be getting more information on that as to where we're able to raise it. But for now, let's turn our attention to protecting the lands and our natural resources in this country. My guest is a man I've had here before, but it's been a very long time since he came around. John Peter Amaru is the minister in charge of that particular ministry. We'll be talking to him in a second. Honorable, you're welcome.
Thank you.
I hope you are doing well.
Very well.
It's been a long time.
Yeah.
The last time we were talking about whether they will lift the ban or they will not lift the ban, or whether the government was going to do it anytime soon.
Yeah, you're right.
Do we have a date now on when the ban is going to be lifted?
Tentatively, we don't have the date, but the ban will be lifted very soon.
This year?
Of course, this year, yeah.
We are in the second quarter. Are we likely to move it into the third quarter, or this, quarter will have it?
Well, within the current arrangement with the president and the committee put forward, we want to do it as soon as possible.
This month?
It would have even been done on 1st of May. The president was really asking the committee to do some work. If we had completed those work, the president might have done it during the 1st of May speech. Unfortunately, on our part, we've not been able to live up to the speed at which the president really wants us to work with. So it puts some agency, of course, on us to do those things quickly. Over the period, the Chief of Staff has organized some 2 strong meetings, which clearly came out with the roadmap to lifting of the ban. So we are on course, and I can assure Ghanaians that responsible mining, of course, is what we are looking at. And we'll definitely, as a country, will pursue that agenda. Yeah.
I'm just wondering, is it possible next month?
It could be possible, yeah. It could be possible.
Is it just the way you say it could be possible?
Yes, of course. You know, this things depends on some of the returns that we need to put in place.
Yes, of course.
For instance, this is our livelihood project that we yet to start the distribution of our seedlings to some of the communities. So we are on course. I can tell you we are on course, and definitely within the shortest possible time, we will see to the lifting of the ban. Yeah.
So if you're going to lift the ban, why are you providing alternative livelihoods anyway?
It is important because not all people might still want to engage in the mining. There are a lot of health concerns for the mining communities, especially the individuals. You know, they're not doing it because they like to do it. They are very much aware of the implication in terms of their health concern. So if the reasons, manage to get an alternative, of course, I know most of them will prefer to go into those alternatives, yeah.
But, I mean, of course, we will talk about the things that you're providing them. But let me understand this part. What exactly is preventing this ban from being lifted? What exactly, is it an assessment of the current situation, an update report that is required on how far the damages have been brought under control, the work of the joint military police team on the ground, Operation
No,
Vanguard?
it's just the roadmap. For instance, from our perspective of the point of the Lands Ministry and the Minerals Commissions, the earmarking and blocking of areas specifically to be meant for small-scale mining, this tracking thing that we put in place, we need the regulations, which of course, the regulation is almost done, because we need a regulation to implement the tracking, devices in the vehicles. The cost framework for that, discussions are being held with the small scale, how that cost structure is going to be shared. And so there are little things that we need to discuss, around which, of course, we've done almost about 90%, I can assure you. With the recent meeting we had, we are about 90% complete in making sure that we lift the ban for responsible people to go back to the field. Yeah. Okay,
so you separate them. You said for responsible to go back into mining,
yeah.
i.e. when the ban is lifted, it's not everybody that can go back to the
Yes,
grounds.
of course. You should still expect some recalcitrant ones to be there if the ban is lifted. And so what it means is that our monitoring team will still be in place to work on those people. But the good thing this time is that we believe in fact, over all this period, 1.5 years that we have placed this ban, the small-scale miners themselves has played a very active role.
Okay.
And it is our belief, and they themselves has,
they form virtually like some vanguard of their
vanguard
own
communities. They were on the water bodies. All those works that happened within the period were done by the VAID group, Volunteers Against Environmental Degradations, and some small-scale miners association. So if they go back to the site and they are working, of course, they're not going to allow anybody to destroy their work. Because if they do allow the recalcitrant ones to come back again, definitely they know it's going to affect their operation. So their presence on the site alone is going to trigger, reasons why the illegal ones may not be able to come closer.
So they will protect the place beyond having to...
Precisely, they will do that.
Do their normal duties.
Precisely.
Of course, they now realize that it affects them.
Of course, it affects them. Some of them depend on this for years. And I have instances where they come to my office and they can't pay their children's school fees. They cannot do the basic things that they need to provide in their homes. So we've taken these concerns very seriously. We appreciate their level of patience that they've waited for far too long. And so we we agree with them and we'll work with them.
When will your committee, the committee that's tasked to do a responsibility before the ban is lifted, when will they submit its report?
That is the ministerial committee.
Yes.
Well, I think that is the report is completed. I've told you of the meeting we had with the Chief of Staff on 2 occasions, and that is putting the roadmap, you know. And so they've finished their work eventually, and that is why we're thinking of lifting the ban. Yeah.
Okay, but that's interesting to know. Now, I want to be clear in my mind about exactly what has been done on the ground. First and foremost, have we gotten rid of all illegal miners from every nook and cranny in this country?
Not at all. Not at all.
They are still there?
They are still there. It's difficult. Because some of them are even operating in areas that you cannot access.
Really?
Very difficult to access.
Even with Vanguard?
Even
with deployed more than 400 men on the ground?
I mean, some are deep up there in the forest. You know, we still have natural forests in this country, deep up there, and then areas that are very difficult to access. So some of them are still there. And what we have also noticed over the period is that on the rivers, they migrate, you know, upstream, you know, to some of the areas that, again, makes accessibility quite difficult. So there are a few of them. But largely, the Vanguard, in collaborations with the Presidential Committee and, you know, the varied groups and the small-scale associations, I mean, they've done well. The media, everybody has done quite
completion
well,
level, success level, 90, 100, 80, 40?
Well, we've gone beyond 50. I think we've gone beyond 50.
Oh,
but,
that's a very modest assessment.
Well,
I was expecting to say 90, so that's how...
if you've gone beyond 50, we've achieved a pass mark.
You are not at 90 yet?
We are not at 90, not at all.
It sounds to me that it's going to take a while longer than we thought.
This thing started for more than 10, 15 years now, so you don't expect 1 year, 2 years to address it. And so that is going to be, and so it's not more like, it's a process, it's not an event. And so we will continue, even when the ban is lifted, we expect the Operation Vanguard to be in its place. We expect the environmental against degradations, the varied group, we expect them to be in place. We expect the small-scale miners association themselves also to continue, you know, their monitoring. We are also doing some restructuring at the commission levels. The Minerals Commission is completely going to be restructured.
The mining districts.
Yeah. We've created a number of mining districts.
They are no longer 9?
No. Now we've gone to almost about 33 mining districts. More regional ones have been created.
And we have directors for these districts?
Yes, of course. We've engagement process is still ongoing.
So what happens to the, forgive me, but a drunkard who was on the job, very drunk, what happened to him?
Well, what we did was, you know, they were interdictions. We put up a committee to investigate. They brought a report. And so we brought them back, but we have reassigned them, you know, again. But are
you of the considered opinion he will not drink in the new post?
Well, we are monitoring them because they've signed bonds.
Are they still the coordinators of mining districts?
Yeah, they are in the mining districts, and they've signed bond of good behavior. So we'll be monitoring them, and I think they are doing quite
okay, that'll be interesting to know how they roll out their work. So the other point they also raised was how resourceful they could be because of the vast areas they had to deal with.
Precisely.
Have we provided resources to these miners?
Yes, we're trying to buy some new motorbikes and new vehicles for the additional districts that we are creating, and trying to put in some resources. Okay. We have also established the mining committees at the district level. I know these are by law, but that too was not existing. So we put all these mining committees at the district level ready. So a lot of things has been done apart from, you know, the physical ones. We're also doing the regulatory, you know, ones. For instance, the tracking devices that I'm talking about, which you need to put in a regulation in place. Okay. The restructuring of the Minerals Commission itself. What we have seen is that over the period, the monitoring division is the same one that issued the license. You know, so how can you issue license and go back and monitor? So now I'm trying to separate the monitoring divisions from the licensing division and create a number of deputy chief executives, at least 3. So we're going to have finance and administration, monitoring and inspection, which directly will have some communications with the ministry in terms of a reporting line. We'll have the chief executive there. Then we have the normal, you know, technical departments. All this will be held by deputy chief executive's position. So some reform itself, in terms of institutional reform, has also gone into the Minerals Commission itself as an entity.
I don't want to lose sight of the fact that in the course of this week, from Monday, you've been going through the regions to deal with the livelihood matter, which many felt and thought government was not doing anything about. Exactly what is the alternative livelihood you are providing the people, and how are you convinced that they will abandon the previously very lucrative business of mining to do these alternative livelihoods?
What we're doing currently in the mining communities now is to undertake what we call the palm plantation. So we foresaw this, and at the time that we placed the ban, and so we tried to nurse almost about 2 million seedlings of palm seedlings, and they are up now, for distribution to them, and we expect, and these things are going to be distributed free. We try to make funding available for those who cannot even clear their lands, to be cleared for them free, and then they will go and plant. You need about 60 per acre. The 2 million, we are covering almost about 33,000, acres of, and that is huge. That can even constitute an industry on its own. So it's an opportunity for employment.
So yes, from mining to farming, from mining to farming.
Yes, of course, to industrialization, depending on how you looked at it. It's also, we know that some of them, of course, will consider the mining as more lucrative.
Because they get money from it.
Yeah, they get money from it.
And it looks like very cheap money.
Yes, of course. But you see money that is gotten not on the through the right perspective. And again, those monies they got initially, some of them go use it again for their own health. Because the sort of chemicals, toxic metals that are found in some of these areas affect their health concerns. And so you may have the money all right, but you use it on your health, So in the long run, the net effect, it's zero. So we expect them that they should, though they may not be expecting as high as, from this alternative. We expect the responsible ones to go into it, yeah.
Okay, so how many people are you targeting with this?
It's quite a huge number. It's depending on the, so far now we have quite over about 700 of them that are coming forward. So the numbers are quite huge, yeah.
Okay, now let me understand this. These are all the people who have been arrested and standing prosecution, right?
Yeah.
That means that the people who have been arrested and standing prosecution, that process will still go through?
Yes, of course. Those are the legal processes, and we're not going to interfere with that process at all. Yeah. Okay.
Now, let me also be clear in my mind about exactly what has now changed on the ground. We're talking about the percentage of work that's supposed to be done. Are we ever going to retrieve and stop the functioning of the Operation Vanguard? I'm just asking, from the look of things.
To retrieve them from
the mining areas, because we want to believe they have done their work.
It's quite a good question. You see, in the project document that we came out, which is the multi-sectoral mine integration project, it is clear that we believe that the militant approach cannot be an option to addressing the illegality in terms of mining in our sub-region.
It is clear.
Yeah, because it has failed all over, and so we must begin to look for...
Forgive me.
Yeah.
Because you've said this, it's not the same thing that the former President Mahama said about they tried soldiers and they didn't work.
Yeah.
So we should do it differently.
Yeah, but that is why I'm talking about in the project that we have.
Okay.
The approach, the sustainability. What the previous ones do was more of you hit and run. This has been quite a sustainable way.
That's what I'm asking, whether they're going to be there forever.
They've been there forever, I can tell you no, of course, because there's also cost implications.
Yeah.
What they've gone to do now is to just make sure that they go in and sanitize the environment in terms of driving the people away. All these structures that we have put in place is the way forward. The sustainability, it's what we mean. The Vanguard's approach in terms of cost cannot be a sustainable, Yes. So the other alternative is what we have discussed. The small scale themselves are going to, serve as guards for their areas, and they, of course, will give signals. It doesn't mean that we're not going to apply the enforcement in terms of, the regulatory framework, enforcement, the law, and all those things. If you are an illegal person working, of course, the law will catch on you.
Okay.
And how you will be arrested will also have to go through the law process. But putting the military, there permanently, that's definitely, it's not going to be the alternative. Yeah.
On July 19th, you are reported to have said that implementation of the anti-galamsey plan is going to cost $150 million US. And has this figure changed?
No, it doesn't change. It's actually 200.
In the next 5.
Yeah, it's a 5-year project. It's a 200 million for 5 years.
In the next 5 years?
The 5 years project.
Do we have the money?
Yes, of course, we're working seriously towards that. We have had several engagements with donor partners.
You know, when I asked, do you have the money? We are working seriously towards that.
Yes, we don't have all the money.
Yes.
You know, this is a 5-year project.
Yes.
For instance, just yesterday we had a discussion with the World Bank, and they are going to put in something very quickly.
They are willing to support.
Yeah, willing to support. You know, they have had a look at the documents. And they were quite excited, and what they even suggested at that discussion, it's to increase the funding that they want to make available to us. They were talking about between 30 and 50. So it means there's a room available to increase it. And what they suggested that if we can do strategic collaborations with our neighboring countries, for instance, Ivory Coast, then of course the basket can increase. And again, the president has signed a strategic partnership agreement with Ivory Coast. So that has already qualified us in terms of our environment and in terms of our mining. So we may be going far beyond what they really want to give us.
The amount of money involved. But we are hopeful we can raise it with the support of the World Bank.
Yes. When we linked up with
Are there conditionalities to the raising of this amount of money?
The counterpart funding, of course, may be part of the industry. Yeah, you must demonstrate that you can. And in the project document, of course, there is a part that government have to pay. So that's, of course, obvious.
Do you have enough money to implement these policies?
To start with,
now.
To start with, yes, we should be able to do that.
Last week, I heard a story about how various ministries, of course, it will include yours anyway, have not received their budgetary allocations going into the year, beginning of the 5th month. Is it true?
Yeah, of course. You know, this project, we are looking beyond the GOG period. Yes, and that is why we are looking at other areas. Don't forget, when we start this project, we had several discussions with donor partners, and the interest level is very high. So we are not necessarily concentrating on the GOG for funding of this project.
How much is China contributing to the clearing of the mess? That question is important to many people.
That's a good question. In terms of figures, they haven't put figures on it. But
really?
But they definitely going to do a lot of contributions. So far, they have started doing some training. I think just about 2 weeks ago, we sent about 30 people or so. They're about to China for training. Some of them have returned. They are
training
also,
as what?
Into other alternatives.
Okay.
We are creating this bamboo and rattan project in Accra here, and they're going to help about 100 people as an alternative. We use it as an alternative to the mining, where bamboo, you know, could be used for baskets and all the other things. So the Chinese government...
The previously legal miners can now be trained as what they call it.
Well, of course, those are all the alternatives.
Outside the country.
Yeah, those are all the alternatives
and
that we have.
And people are doing other legal jobs in this country that prefer the training, but they are not getting. It's interesting how...
Well, no, you see, we even in Ghana, the School of Mines has trained quite about 1,000 people.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we have trained 1,000, more than 1,000, you know, small-scale miners have gone through University of Mines at Takwa for the mining. So
that's interesting.
The training is open up. We believe that if they are able to undergo these training processes, that will also enhance, you know, their methodology in terms of what they do in the mining process.
Okay, now let me, the question about China. So China is not giving us a PESWA to clear our problem. They're helping in training.
We approach them.
Okay.
They indicate the willingness, and so the discussions are going. You know, as we are going to, you know, jump into the project phase now, of course, we will definitely expect some funding from the Chinese government.
Would they want us to leave their people that we arrested and are prosecuting?
I don't think at all.
For money?
The Chinese government, they are very responsible. They believe in rule of law.
I see.
And so I have had several engagements with the ambassador. And surprisingly, most of the people that comes here and do the wrong things, they are not supporting them.
Okay.
Because they believe that the law of this country must apply. And so they support us in everything that we do. So long as we do it within the framework of the law, I think they are all in for that.
Okay, now, so funding is being dealt with in a more sustainable way. The water bodies and other things are also being taken care of. It looks like the MMIP is being implemented.
Yeah, we started the implementation, though that we have not launched it. Yeah, reclamation.
So that's the question I was going to.
Yeah,
because we're told that somewhere in February was supposed to be launched.
Yeah, because of the delay, we decided to, you know, start some of the you know, the
Projects.
AESL, for instance,
Okay.
have identified some of the areas for reclamation, and we've written to the communities, you know, the chiefs, they've been notified. So those areas, I think the reclamation had already started, you know, in those areas. So the training program, as you rightly put it, the earmarking of areas for the small scale, the regulations, you know, for the tracking, these things. So all
But
this
do you have
is
a date on when we are going to officially let the people of this country know that this project is ongoing, as in the launch?
Oh, well, when it's launched officially, we will come to let Ghanaians understand what we have done today.
No,
Yeah.
I just want to know when it's going to be launched.
Very, very soon, because, you know, no, let me, you see, we want the president to launch it.
Yes.
I mean, that is all I'm talking
He's
about.
a very
And so
busy man.
the president, you know his schedule is quite a busy man, and so we, but I think it can be done within the next 2 weeks, 3 weeks, it can be done.
I'll be going for a break in the jiffy, but this question, now, chiefs, big players who were supposed to have been behind the people in the pits on the ground, what has happened to these people?
Chiefs, big players who are supposed to be.
So chiefs, politicians who are supposed to be funding projects of what they call illegal miners.
Okay.
We've not heard of a single being arrested. In fact, the only person we heard is Aisha Juan, who is Chinese anyway.
Yeah, you are right. You know, it's a fact that there are some financial backbones, you know, behind these guys, because they need money to engage in some of these activities. Unfortunately, we haven't actually uncovered
even when
those,
Vanguard started.
Yeah,
there's not
it's very because sometimes it's difficult. Vanguard, the activity is more of operational, and they go on the fields, and how are they going to identify the source of funding? You know, they are in for those who are doing the wrong things, and they are picking them up. So I think we need some level of intelligence.
But for sustained engagement, shouldn't we
need
it at the back?
We need a level of intelligence to be able to engage those people. And that is why the President Committee is also very important. For instance, the Minister of Chieftaincy is included in that. And what he is doing currently is going around the communities, talking to the chiefs, you know, engaging community leaders, opinion leaders in the various communities.
Why people engage in illegalities? You don't talk to them, you arrest them, you prosecute them.
No, when you go to the community, you don't know exactly who is involved. So what the minister is doing is to gather them and talk to them about, you know, the impact of the illegal mining on their lives and also on their various communities.
Oh, no, but when we are back, we will talk about what's happened to your directive that they should stop deceiving people when it comes to local content. We'll talk about that. We'll also talk about what's happening in your ministry and other departments too. But for now, let's take a break and be back soon. You're welcome back to Our Front. Early on, we started our conversation on what's the latest happening on the grounds at the CID's headquarters, where we understand Mr. Nyantakyi, who is the GFA boss, embattled, of course, and who has been reported by the president to have defrauded with fraudulent intent of misrepresentation of the presidency in what happens to be the cracks of the over an hour tape investigative piece journalist and ace investigative journalist Anas Aremi Anas will soon be releasing. We brought you an update from the CID headquarters on what's happening there and the latest on that front and what seems to be some attempt to, you know, get him replaced at the front of the GFA2 or have somebody who would in the interim act on his behalf, mindful of the fact that, as Packer tells us from that particular place, it's less likely to be the case that he'll be let go today. So the bail application may not be heeded today. So that's the latest development on the front of what's happening with Mr. Kwesi Nyantakyi. Now, we moved on to have a conversation on the environment. And the man who's been leading the fight against Ghana's biggest menace in the last year and flowing into this particular year is John Peter Amehu. He's my guest. And we'll be trying to let you understand what's been the latest development on the fight against the Galamsey, what's been done to provide people alternative livelihoods. And I'm just learning that includes going to China to be trained too. Anyway, and many of the things that are being done by the ministry to permanently deal with this problem and make sure that it doesn't recur in the nearest future. Now, before I move on from this particular matter, you had tough words for former President Mahama because you felt he was being unfair to the current fight against Galamsey. Has his men reached out to you and explained to you that he didn't mean any harm? I've heard Inus Obseni, who was one of the people who was in the office prior to you coming in there, said, oh, he doesn't feel that the man was being unfair, that there's something called platform, political party talk that sometimes comes out as pretty harsh. Do you, on hindsight, believe that could be the intent?
Well, I don't mean to intend to cause any harm or to damage the good reputation of his former president, John Mahama. But the statement he put up there, as a sector minister, I felt that the statement was wrong and the content in which he put it. So that was just my fair reactions, as I have my own individual perspective of what he said. And as an individual and as a sector minister, it was my fair reaction to the statement. And he may also take it up in a different content, but I know he's also a politician.
No, he said that,
the platform in which
he said that now government officials are no longer tolerant to differing opinion. When he says something small, then they are attacking him.
No, not at all. You see that normally when you're on a political platform, you begin to have this, especially when you see the crowd.
Yeah,
and you are not able, yes, you are not able to control yourself. You are charged, to say things that may not be acceptable. I think maybe in one of those moments, as usual, having seen the large crowd following him, and you want to, make the crowd looks a bit happy. And so my reaction, of course, was very fair. I also don't intend to, I respect the former president's office, yes, but I also been fair as a minister as a result of his comment,
There's a feeling, I don't know if that reflects how you see what's happening. I've heard people say that the zeal and energy and the power with which we started the fight against Galamsey has slowed. Is it the case?
It has not slowed at all because there's a lot of things need to be done, at the back office, which I try to explain to you. Some of these regulatory drives, the reformations in the, minerals commissions, and then the operational people are on the field itself. What we did, the structure was, of course, you open up the floodgate for people to see exactly what the damaging effect of the illegality is about, and we got the public sympathy in. And so we put in the operational guards, of course, which are working there. From our own ministry, we have the volunteers, against environmental degradations. We have the small-scale miners association. Then the vanguard comes in, so they can be doing the operation. The minister, but we pave the way for them, and so we begin to do the back, office activities. So a lot has been going on since then.
People say they are not hearing that today we have arrested 1,800 people more, or we have actually gotten this excavator from this part.
Oh, a lot.
All of those have not been happening.
The vanguards they are doing quite a good job. They are arresting a lot number of people each day, and then we are getting the reports of what they are doing up there in the fields. They are doing quite a...
So do we know the latest update on the number of people who have been arrested in connection with it?
I think so far over 1,000 has been picked up, and more than 1,500 excavators, equipment have also been seized. Huge number of chamfers have been destroyed. So they've done quite a lot.
Hey, I thought the equipment was not supposed to be destroyed. The way you said
no,
that...
the chamfers are there. Those the river bodies. No, those ones we had, the floating platforms. Those ones, we are destroying them. That one, there's no mercy.
Oh, really?
No, not at all. Those ones, we bend them out.
The amendment to the Minerals Act is pretty clear on the matter.
It's criminal. What they do on the river bodies, those ones, they go and bend
them that's non-negotiable?
No, that's non-negotiable at all. Bending of the chamfers, of course, we don't have any problem with that.
Okay, now there's a question that's related to all of this. Of course, there's an attempt to sanitize the environmental part of it. There's, however, a question about who owns mining in Ghana? Who is in charge? Who is really the driver of mining in Ghana? It does sound to many people that it's predominantly a foreigners-based entity, especially when this ban and all of its entities came in. Is it true?
Yeah, you are right. Our mineral resources for years now has been depleted by the foreign companies. We all know. These mineral rights are reserved for Ghanaians. They own the minerals, and trust by the president on behalf of the people. But the exploitation rights, which needs to be given by the president through the minister, most often has been seen being granted to the foreign companies in terms of the large-scale operations. So they have actually benefited. I always say that a lot.
Is it because we don't have the financial muscle to do it?
Number one, also. Number two, it's also because of an unwillingness of the Ghanaians to collaborate in terms of coming together to do it. Because of the capital involvement, a number of Ghanaians can come together, put themselves together. But as I speak, no single Ghanaian on a man scale large-scale mines in this country over 100 years, and that cannot be, taken for granted. We need to look beyond that. And so it is true that the minerals resources in terms of the value, the ownership, the extractions rights, they've all been given to the foreigners for all these years.
What's been done to change that? Can we change it?
Well, this president is determined, and he said that we must begin to look along the value chain and come out with a conclusive integration approach. And so, for instance, the gold aspect, we're saying that the refinery should be done. And in terms of the mining itself, we are now engaging the local contents, where foreigners or foreign companies will come and take, mining contracts in the mining field under my regime, and under His Excellency President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. We said that is not going to happen. Ghanaians will have to be involved in those discussions. And so they are beginning to expand now to accommodate Ghanaians.
Are we perceiving a period where Ghanaians can take over?
Precisely. A typical example is what we want to do in Obuasi. You agree with me that Obuasi initially was going to be given to the foreigners. I have to rush there and stop them immediately. I mean, that was not by law, but we need to stop them because that's the right thing to be done. And what we're doing now is to make sure that they look for a local partner, to get there. And my understanding is that they've gotten a partner. But again, we're giving them a trajectory.
Sorry, forgive me. Let me understand this.
Yeah.
AngloGold Ashanti is no longer going to a foreign entity. It's now going to be partnered by a Ghanaian.
Yes, of course, a Ghanaian is going to take part in the mining activity.
So will we still have foreign participation?
Yes, of course, the foreign participation. We call that extent of the capital
required.
Yeah.
So is it going to be...
But the job itself, in terms of participation in undertaking the job, Ghanaians are therefore involved in that.
So the outsourced duties that they're supposed to give it to other people is going to be...
done by Ghanaians.
Okay.
Yes.
That's interesting.
But
this was what you did your speech on, right? This was when you went there to say that they were doing a charade of what they call a public engagement.
Yeah, precisely, of course. Yeah. So they have to change based on the my directive. They have to change.
Oh, so they have agreed to change.
Precisely, they have to change.
Have they already contracted the Ghanaian?
Yes,
or Ghanaians?
I think they have done that. I'm not deep into that discussions, but I've just been filled with information, and I think discussions are far. advance of it.
We understand it's not only AngloGold that's predominantly Ghanaian.
No.
So would you be in the position to intervene in
Well, some of this has already been done before, if the process is already ongoing. It is difficult to come in and stop it, But if they are about to start the processes, that one we can get engaged, like what happens in Obuasi. So we were actually, getting involved in Obuasi one right down from inception to completion.
What's their reaction to it?
No, they took it in good faith. Fortunately for us, some of them are South Africans themselves, and they understand where I was coming from. We know what happens in South Africa, so they took it. They took it in good faith. It was for me, what is important is that they agreed to do what I asked them to do. Okay,
so can you intervene in the rest?
If it's a new process, yes, of course, but an ongoing process becomes difficult to go and stop it.
Yeah. But at what point can we as a government then say that this is our rule and you have to abide by our rule?
Yeah, we need to enforce it. It's a matter of enforcement. We need to be strong on these companies and very firm on them. If they misbehave, you take them out of the country and then bring those that are prepared to abide by the law. So these are some of the things that we're doing. A case recently in mind is the Newmont issue where these foreign companies have to, because of negligence, a number of lives have been lost. We will come out and make sure that the laws of this country are applied and punitive measures, are meted to those companies.
So it is to say that somebody has been held culpable?
Precisely, of course. The investigative report, the investigation they brought out shows that somebody didn't do his work well. There's a negligence of duty. And so we looked into it and see what will come out.
Do we know when you are going to publish this report?
As soon as possible. Very soon, maybe by Friday or Monday.
The people, are they going to be actually prosecuted or just held responsible?
Well, there are criminal issues involved. When human lives are lost, I think it has to do with criminality. But for us, what is important is to look at it and see if we still need to engage those people, to continue the work they are doing, or have to look at an alternative.
When you say those people, you're talking about those who...
I'm talking about the
contractors.
Yes, I'm talking about
and not necessarily the Newmont itself.
The EPC contractor, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, I don't get said.
This is an EPC company that was engaged.
For the purpose of those who are mining, not so much into mining.
It is an engineering, procurement, construction, management company.
Okay, engineering, procuring, construction, management.
So they do
company.
the design of the mine and all
Okay.
this. So they engage Consa as a local contractor to build the mine.
Okay.
Okay. This company has been engaged by Newmont as the main owner of the mine. So they are the client.
Okay.
And so the EPC contractor is supposed to do the supervision of the activities of building the mine. So that's how the whole thing. And Consa comes in as a contractor to undertake the operational activity. Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting to know.
It's a very
Are we sacking them?
Well, the reports will come out. Will come out.
The way he said,
we will come out.
People are interested in knowing whether we are saying to them, go away, and you can make a similar speech like you did in the Anglo Gold case.
Well, by Monday, Ghanaians will know what the outcome of the report is. Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting to know. But I mean, I'm sure we can leave it on that particular end. There's a complaint that casualization is becoming the order of the day on the labor front in the mining sector. Is this true?
Largely, yes, because some of the mines are running out of their reserves, and also because of the instability of the prices in terms of the cyclical nature of
Does government have a stand on it?
So, government stand, of course, will be when people are engaged for more than 6 months automatically. By the law, they consider
convert from casual to
casual. So that is exactly what the Ministry of Employment is doing, and I'm very sure that he's very strong on that. We have had several engagement with him, and he's on top of the issue. Yeah.
Now, okay, so there's a question that is linked to all of this. How many years would it take Ghanaians to completely own these mines?
You see,
that's the question.
Ramon,
you talk about money.
It can take
it's capital intensive, I know.
No, it takes less than a month to own a mine. I'm saying that Ghanaians on their own are refusing to collaborate and work together.
Oh, okay.
If you have 3, 4 big Ghanaian companies, we have had companies like Engineers and Planners, Rockshaw.
Yeah.
Engineers and Planners started on a very small note, but today it's one of the big company. Rockshaw, other companies are coming. BC, all those companies. If they all can come together and say, let's put our resources together and own a mine, they can own a big mine, so that we don't go and be bringing in these foreigners. They do the work. The money remain in the country. They will not repatriate the money. The money will remain in the country. They will build their houses. The houses will remain here, and the economy will expand. I think this is what the president is looking for, and so this is what we need to do.
Okay, but that's interesting because perhaps I'll leave the mining conversation there. I'll be wrapping up pretty soon. There are some issues that are outstanding that I want clarity on. What has happening to the fight against rose roots?
Yeah, that's a very good area, again, the forestry. Some licenses were given in terms of permit for salvage of rosewood. The salvage simply means that some of these woods were cut, and left in the forest, and they were going bad. But these are economic woods. And so the Forestry Commission, in collaboration with the ministry, agreed that this wood should not go bad, because they are economic importance. So people were contracted to go and salvage them. They were not to go and cut. But unfortunately, some of them went, cut in there. So their licenses would have to be withdrawn. So a number of them had their licenses withdrawn. And the process of salvage also had.
Do we know the number?
I think over 20 of them also have their licenses withdrawn,
Land records digitization. The Vice President is very much passionate about this matter. When are we getting the private sector on board?
Well, we have had a number of engagements with the private sector. We did what we call our market sounding, and almost 55 participants, 150 participants from over 15 countries attended and show a very high level of interest. So we realized that, yes, of course, the interest is high and they need to help us.
Have we selected one?
No, the market sounding is just to show the interest. So we are going to place in an advert very soon now, and go through the procurement processes. We want to map the whole of the country because the orthophoto is very important. We believe when that is done, that can aid the digitization process of the land administration and fast track our delivery processes. So these are the things that we're doing at the land sector.
I have 2 more minutes to end our conversation. First, What happened to the implementation of the ITLOS ruling with Ivory Coast?
Yeah, the president put a committee together, the implementation committee. I'm just returning from Ivory Coast. I went there with the senior minister, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, the Energy Ministry, the Attorney General, and then some members of the committee, the technical committee. So the implementation committee is at the process of implementing the decision of the ITLOS. So plans are far advanced, you know, and they are also going to come back to Ghana. But what we want to agree now, it's of course the coordinates have already been agreed upon in terms of the ruling, and so it is a drawing of the line, you know, that we need to do. So the implementation committee is on top of the issue.
Okay, so one simple issue that I want you to end with is exactly what different will be happening in the ministry this year. We are in the 4th, 5th month, getting into the more years. I mean, everybody's complaining about not getting enough money, but what are you doing differently this year?
Well, our ministry is doing a lot. As I said, we are not depending so much on the, the government press. We are going beyond that. We're talking to donor partners. But our concentration this year is on the land reforms, which we've gone very far on, and we think that we should be able to achieve our target.
Thank you so much, Honorable. I appreciate your time coming. Well, folks, that's where we tie the nice ribbons on today's edition of UPfront. My guest has been the Lands and Natural Resources Minister, who has not been as frequent as supposed to be coming here, and hopefully he would actually be so. Thank you so much for joining us on this day. And many thanks to you, Honorable, for joining us on today's edition of UPfront.
Thank you. Thank you.